Welcome to another edition of Bigfoots Pad Live. On the line with me tonight, I have Tim Metter and I'm Jeremy Metter. And today
Hello.
we are going to talk about a strange topic. This topic was a request from our other team member, Nick, who was unable to make it tonight. He wants to talk about a strange conspiracy theory named Project Blue Beam. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But as always, tonight we are going to talk about a couple of news stories before we get going.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, do you want to get started first, or do you want me to get started?
I'm sure I can bring it up. So I have an interesting article here. I always thought what do you call it? The reincarnation of the woolly mammoth would be a very interesting article.
Yes.
And it just interests me because there's literally genetics people that are actually like working on this. Real fact, there's people that have $60 million worth of funding, and they want to de-extinct this creature.
Yeah.
It's a Dallas-based company. I'm going to read you the article right here.
Okay. I said okay.
Oh yeah, so it's a Dallas-based company working to edit the genes for reincarnation of the animal. The colossal plan to reintroduce the woolly mammoth and run to Russia, but that may shift. So now they're looking to do it here in America and Canada, actually.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
they already started on it, or
what's that?
They already started on it.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to aim for 2027. It looks like
that's pretty soon.
Yeah, it said Dallas. They had scored an additional $60 million last year too, so now they have $120 million to make it possible.
Oh dang! So,
yeah,
you said it's from overseas, and now they're bringing it over here.
Yeah, I think they found like I said they said they would it's a 99.6% match of the Asian elephant, so they gotta they'll create like a hybrid first, and then eventually. Very interesting though. Yeah, I was reading that. I think we posted something on the Twitter feed like a week or two ago about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that is weird. If they brought back the mammoth, the only thing about that though is you never know what the implications are to the environment unless they're going to keep it in a zoo or something, which is still
for the most part. I think it would be good in like the open grasslands of like Asia and like like the Russian steppes, but yeah, who knows like what else it would, what other kind of consequences it would cause.
Oh yeah. Well, my article, the first one I'd like to share, it says Stonehenge worker says he has proof of shape-shifting UFO over the historic site. It says a man who claims to be a Stonehenge worker, in quotations, says that he has proof of a shape-shifting UFO flying over the historic site. Claims that he's seen it multiple times. So this anonymous worker, of course it would be an anonymous worker,
of course,
shared their news on TikTok, saying the first incident occurred around 2 years ago. And it was captured on camera by 2 security guards. He claimed to be one of the few who have seen the footage and felt the need to share the story now. Why, you ask? I don't know, but we're going to get we're going to get to that in a moment. As news of the balloon-like UFOs appearing in the skies across the world has surfaced, as the Daily Star reports. The worker, who goes by Neolithic Juan on TikTok, I guess that's his screen name, said the security guards were currently keeping the footage to themselves, but it was hopeful that they would share it to the world in the next couple of days.
Interesting.
Yeah, it says, describing the 3-minute clip, he says, what happened in June 2 years ago in the midst of a lockdown at about 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a balloon spotted by 2 security guards. At least that's what they thought it was, because it was floating without any noise off in the distance. And it was really very low to the ground, it says. It was coming towards Stonehenge. But what's interesting, for them both to get out their mobile phones and start recording. So I guess there's some kind of recording of, they call it a shape-shifting UFO. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why exactly they refer to it as a shape-shifting UFO, but they said it's.
Well, can't wait to see the video then.
Yeah, I was wondering when this thing's coming out.
Right.
So we got 2 more things to share with everyone. The next one, it says astronomers pick up 8 mysterious radio signals from outer space.
Oh yeah, I posted that article too on our Twitter.
Oh yeah, this article's kind of short. I think there's probably a longer version of this. but it says one question has troubled humanity for thousands of years: are we alone in the universe? As yet, there is no answer. But the best way of finding out is to detect technosignatures or evidence of technology that alien civilizations may have developed. The only problem is that astronomers have always struggled to differentiate between potential extraterrestrial signals and human-caused ones until now. 8 mysterious radio signals have been discovered thanks to a new artificial intelligence-trained lithogram. Algorithm. Sorry, I said that wrong. Algorithm.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant.
That researchers hope will streamline the search for aliens. The algorithm looked at 820 stars thought to be devoid of any potential extraterrestrial activity. So, according to this, I guess they found 8 signals that they thought were weird, and it says SETI. They showed this. They showed it to SETI, and they're saying that they think this stuff's weird. It comes from deep space, about 30 to 90 light years away. It says.
Interesting.
The article would take about 100 years to go over everything, but from like you get the main point. So they got this algorithm that searches for some kind of signals deep in space, and it got these 8 signals.
Interesting.
One last one. I'm gonna have to share my screen here for this. So this one, let me put, there we go. So this one, it says, it's from a guy named Andrew Harbison. He wrote us an email. It says, hello.
And on Twitter.
Yeah, it says, hello. I was hiking a trail in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. About 1/4 mile down the trail, I noticed this structure about 30 feet off of the trail. We had a lot of wind over the past couple of days, but there were a lot of small trees uprooted at the base, so I'm not sure if the wind could have done this or what. I'd like to hear your opinion. So I'm going to show the 4 pictures, and then we'll talk about it.
This is the kind of stuff we get in our emails all the time and things.
Oh, yeah. See if I can zoom into this a little bit. Can you see it good, Tim, or is it hard to see?
Yeah, you can see it like that.
Yeah, so here's the first one. You could see in this area something
definitely a structure.
They stacked these branches or trees, whatever you want to call them. Another look at that.
Yeah, I seen these the other day on our Twitter too. I told him I think these look very legit.
I don't see what he would have to hide or what he would really be
Me
gaining.
neither.
So I'll flip through them one more time for everybody. So what he's hinting at is that these were caused by some kind of Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or some kind of intelligent creature. It's a popular theory. Yeah, it's a popular theory that Bigfoot or Sasquatch will sometimes place trees or branches in these weird, sometimes some people call them nests, some people call them markers. They place these branches in these weird I don't know what you'd call them, these weird patterns.
Structures and patterns, yeah.
To try and either mark a territory, get some other creature's attention. You get the point.
Or maybe directions, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know that guy, Tim. I've never talked to him personally. Is he a Bigfoot hunter or what's he?
Let's see. We follow him on Twitter. Like I said, I remember those pictures being submitted. Let me check real quick.
I'm wondering if he's some kind of outdoor enthusiast or what he is.
I think he is. So I'll check real quick.
Okay. So while you're doing that, I'm just going to say, Nick was unable to make it tonight. Hopefully he could make it to next week's show. He actually was I'm not sure if he believes in this conspiracy theory we're about to talk about or not, but I know this was kind of his idea. So bear with us here. So I did some notes on this, but it looks like there's really not that much information available on this Project Bluebeam.
Yeah, it's kind of mostly the same idea on most websites.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting though, and I know it'll bring a lot of views for very interested people.
Did You see about that guy yet? Are you looking?
Yeah, it looks like he is like an outdoor enthusiast, conspiracy theorist, and he likes a lot of paranormal stuff. So
Oh, so he's just kind of like an outdoorsman that likes that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I think so.
Alrighty, so like I was saying a minute ago, we are going to talk about Project Blue Beam, and we're going to get into what that is in just a moment. But before we do, I'm not exactly sure how long tonight's show is going to be. We're going to try to shoot for an hour. It might be a little bit shorter, only because there's not too much information on this. But it's an interesting conspiracy theory.
It is, yeah.
I personally don't really know what to think about it, but I know Nick, I think he believes in it, he was saying. What about you, Tim? Before we get going, would you say you believe in it, or it's a possibility, or what do you think?
I don't know. Aspects of it are a possibility.
So,
like certain parts of it, maybe, but overall as a whole, like what this particular gentleman proposes, yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So Nick, the reason why Nick thought this would be kind of a good topic to get into, he was saying that because we have these spy balloons that are being shot down, or these spy objects, whatever you want to call them, that this would be pretty relevant. So I'm gonna mostly go over the information, and then I'm thinking I'll show some pictures and things later on.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is Project Bluebeam? So, Project Bluebeam is a long-standing but unproven conspiracy theory. It was first talked about by a Canadian investigative journalist. His name was Serge Monast, or Serge Monast. I think it's Serge.
And then Serge.
Yeah, sir. I call him Serge. Could be Sergey.
Yeah.
So Serge, as I call him, he came up with this theory in the 1990s that the government will create some kind of a fake second coming in order to control the people or control the populations of the major population centers. Me and Tim aren't going to get into the whole religious second coming thing, but in the sense of this conversation, we're going to talk about UFOs. So since these spy balloons have been shot down, people started talking about maybe instead of faking a second coming, they're going to fake some kind of a UFO invasion, or that there are some kind of country spying on us and they're kind of making their appearance.
Right. And that COVID may play into it also.
Yeah. So in this case, we're talking about UFOs. We're not talking about banning religion and all that kind of stuff. That sounds a little bit crazy to me. So I'm not getting into that. So conspiracy theorists, they said that this whole Project Bluebeam idea kind of died out in the late 90s, early 2000s. But like I said, when these spy balloons started getting shot down, specifically the second, third, and fourth, people started wondering if these objects are made up or are they UFOs. I wrote a timeline of the balloon events. Most people know what this timeline is already, but I'm just gonna share a little bit about it, and then we'll stop and we'll discuss this. So on January 28th of this year, a surveillance balloon is spotted high above the ground in the Aleutian Islands. So this balloon starts getting tracked by NORAD. It travels across part of Canada and reappears in the Idaho-Montana area. This balloon basically floats across all of the United States, basically from coast to coast, give or take. And it says on February 4th, the balloon is shot down off the coast of South Carolina by a Sidewinder missile shot from one of the United States airplanes. The balloon is found to be a Chinese surveillance spy balloon, says the government. And the investigation is currently ongoing on that. But from what the pictures show, they said that from what the pictures and what the descriptions say, this balloon had solar panels to power the equipment on it. It had listening devices.
It was the size of 3 school buses too.
Yeah. So this thing, this wasn't your weather balloon, or this wasn't some kind of a project that was made to track the weather like the Chinese said. Our people and the Canadians clearly said this is a spy balloon.
Right.
I'm not arguing about that object, the origins of that object. I believe, take it at face value. That's
Me too. Me too.
So, like I said, of course, they're still going over this thing. They're still going over this thing. they are not going to release all the information to us because some of this is classified, I'm sure.
Definitely.
So this is where the whole Project Bluebeam comes into play. There's 3 more objects that were shot down in the next few days. On February 10th, a car-sized object was shot down over sea ice near Dead Horse, Alaska. On 2/11, an unidentified object was shot down over the Yukon. And on 2/12, U.S. fighters shoot down another object over Lake Huron. So we're getting a total of 4 objects. The government so far has been kind of reluctant to share very much information of anything about the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th objects. Sometimes the government will kind of release snippets. Conspiracy theorists and just people that are interested in UFOs in general, they say that the government has officially gone out and said that they're not ruling out that this isn't aliens or extraterrestrial. They're not saying it. They're saying that it's that most of these aren't balloons, actually. As they did say one of them was octagonal in shape, which
very
of course,
weird.
People relate to UFOs. Could possibly be a drone. Before I get into the quotes, or actually, no, we'll get into the quotes. Why not?
Yeah, may as well.
So I wrote, are these other objects? Sorry, I'm reading my notes while I go through this. I wrote, are these objects UFOs or extraterrestrial? What do you think, Tim, before we get into all this?
I think they're terrestrial. I personally think they're just Chinese spy balloons. But like I said, I know there's definitely a lot of conspiracy. It does play into our topic tonight. So that's.
But my thing is, like, if it was someone's science project, or if it was someone from Greenland or Russia launching their science project in the air, they would literally just
tell you.
They would just say that this was a science project, a spy balloon. Or they wouldn't be calling it a spy balloon.
Right. The fact it flew across the Pacific Ocean, Japan, and over targets that happened to be military related.
Yeah. Well, they were saying the ones that were shot up above Lake Huron and Dead Horse. I guess they were saying that it was a threat to national security and to.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a little weird.
So on 2/13, which was roughly about 6 days ago, it says the Pentagon refused to rule out that the second 3 objects were alien in origin. And the U.S. Air Force General Glenn Van Herk, as I think is how you say that, he told reporters from CNN and all the big news stations that intelligence services were exploring all possibilities, in quotes, when it came to the origin of the octagonal craft shot down over Lake Huron. He says, when asked whether the involvement of aliens or extraterrestrials had been ruled out, he replied, I'll let the Intel Committee and counterintelligence committees figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything. He says the objects posed reasonable threat. He didn't say threat to civilians, threat to national security. He didn't really say.
Just in general.
But President Biden did say that the objects weren't spy balloons. 2 of the 3 objects, at least, weren't spy balloons for a fact. So we're sitting here wondering, well, if they're not spy balloons, then what the hell are these things?
Right.
Yeah. So if they're posing a threat to civilian aircraft, I don't know if a balloon would be categorized as a threat. So some people say that because they won't come out and say what exactly these things are, that they're made up. That they're made up and that the object never existed in the first place, which would be the Project Bluebeam conspiracy. Then you have people like me who think, okay, well, they probably shot something down. It's probably some kind of a drone, or it might even possibly, even though they don't say it's a balloon, it might possibly be a balloon.
Right.
But
something terrestrial in origin.
Yeah. They're not going to. Here's my thing. If these objects are extraterrestrial in nature, I don't think they're going to flat out go forward and admit to everyone that these are, they shot down a UFO. We've seen from all the way from 1940 all the way up until the 2000s that they're not gonna even hint that they shot down a UFO.
No, not at all.
So my thing is, if it was an actual UFO, they're just going to stay tight-lipped. They're not going to say nothing, unless of course it crashed somewhere where they have to talk about it, or people saw the airplane chasing this object.
New York City or something.
So then we're left with, okay, well, what's left? Could it have been an enemy airplane, a drone, something like that? Yeah. When I think octagon, I think drone. I don't know about you, but I think drone. I think maybe some kind of a test airplane of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they would admit to us if they killed someone. If there was a pilot and they blew, I don't know if they would even admit that.
I don't think so either.
They kind of had to admit about the Chinese spy drone that shot down off South Carolina, because it literally, everyone saw the damn thing float across half of Canada and all, literally
Montana.
It basically went from Utah all the way to South Carolina. And they even had Google even had websites that had tracked the Chinese spy balloon websites, and they had that kind of stuff.
Jeez.
They said the very first person that mentioned it, besides NORAD, was tracking it. They said it was a guy who was having a beer on his front lawn in Montana, called the cops, or saying that he saw this object flying.
That'd be pretty weird.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Is I don't even know that they would even admit that they shot this thing down. They just had to, because everyone saw the plane shoot the object down.
Exactly.
So the intelligence committee's not admitting what these things are.
Hmm.
Are the objects UFOs? Is something that I wrote down. I guess in the sense of the word, they are at the moment. They really are UFOs. They are unidentified flying objects. But are they extraterrestrials? We don't know. The next question: do these things even exist? I kind of really, if you take it at face value, they might really exist. It's just maybe they haven't recovered them yet, or they haven't even got a chance to really look at them yet.
Right. They're probably trying to figure it out.
Well, they were saying that Lake Huron could go hundreds of feet deep at certain parts. And they were saying the one that got shot off the coast of Dead Horse, I don't understand why they haven't gotten that one yet, because they said it fell onto hardened pack ice. So you think you just fly over in a helicopter and look down and grab it, you'd think.
Yeah.
The one over the Yukon, they said, could be over a 20-mile area. So I can understand why they can't find that.
Right.
And
someone just wrote on our Twitter, Jared, that this topic reminds of World War III.
Yeah. So, real quick, this might kind of jump around a little bit. So I talked a little bit about quotes from the military on this thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Serge Monast. He, again, is the guy that came up with this Project Bluebeam. He's the one that said in the 1990s that he thought that the originally he said NASA and different world governments were teaming up to try and control the masses, making fake UFO invasions, or saying the world was going to end somehow. So I wrote, is he a reliable source, or is he a good researcher? Something I managed to pull up. He was arrested twice, in 1995 and 1996, but he was arrested for networks of prohibited information, was his exact why he was arrested. So he was arrested for trying to dig into stuff he wasn't supposed to in the Canadian government.
Is where, in Russia?
In Canada.
Oh, Canada. Okay.
Yeah, so he was actually looking at stuff he wasn't supposed to. In 1995 and 1996. I don't know how long he was in jail. I know one of them he was only in jail overnight. The other one I'm not sure about. So the guy was clearly involved with this government conspiracies, government research. Was he on the right track? I don't know. Nobody knows. But I kind of wonder why would they arrest him if he wasn't onto something? Is
very good point. Yeah, good point.
Do I think the government's faking that the world is going to end over UFOs and spy balloons? No. But again, I haven't read his book, so I don't know. I have no idea if he's onto something or not. So continuing on, I wrote that he died of a heart attack 2 years after coming out with Project Bluebeam, their idea behind this. So he never really got to see this idea come to fruition. I think I can't say that, like fruition.
Yeah, come to light.
Yeah. So this guy, some people say he's a wacko. He kind of sounds like he might be a Dale Gribble, where he's looking in his basement. But could Project Bluebeam be a real thing? Like, could this thing even exist at all in modern day in real life? I'd like to get your opinion on that, Tim, before I say my opinion.
It's very possible to an extent. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna fake religious comings and stuff like that. But like, no joke though. Like, I do think governments are always looking to have more power. Unfortunately, like with the COVID pandemic, you've seen many governments pass laws saying that it was a pandemic so they could get extra power and money to do things, and they prohibited and put rules on the people. Like, look in China.
They scared the crap out of society. People were stealing from their neighbors. There was nothing on the stealing groceries from everybody.
Right. So in that sense, it seems like
people.
Yeah. In that sense, it seems like it's control. Yeah, it seems like it'll be a form of control like that, but like I believe in like that sense.
That was a combination, and then they even shut down not just the United States. They shut down basically 80% of the world.
A lot of the world,
and we're still not fully recovered from that.
Mm-mm.
So could Project Bluebeam be a real thing? In my opinion, I wrote unlikely. And why do I say that? Because on numerous websites, it says no evidence or proof exists that the governments are trying to fake a UFO invasion or that they're trying to say the world is going to end. Like we said, they kind of faked that. I don't know if they faked it, but they kind of said that got everyone into a pandemonium over COVID. So I guess they technically could. If they really wanted to. Believers of the Project Bluebeam theory say that believers say that Project Bluebeam was created by agents of the Pentagon and NASA. NASA, I'm guessing, that's how they somehow relate it to the UFOs. I don't know. But what's weird about this is they have these Project Bluebeam believers.
Or maybe for the technology portion of the theory.
Yeah, so I'm not like knocking anyone for believing in it or not believing in it.
Me neither.
But I'm kind of wondering, if there's no evidence, how do you know that the Pentagon or NASA are the ones that came up with this idea? As far as everything I looked at, it tracked it back to Mr. Monast, as far as I could see.
Yeah.
And
I'll give him credit for being arrested, though, like for finding out stuff he's not supposed to. I'll give him credit for that. But.
Yeah. Well, in 1994, I have a note that says Monast said that he thought the United Nations were behind it. So there's two different stories. I was thinking, so on this hand, Monast is saying it's the Pentagon and NASA. And then on this hand, he's saying that it's the United Nations. So I was like, you can't have both. So you got to pick one, your original theory, or are you picking the other theory?
Yeah, good point.
So how many people would be in the know is what I read. How many people would be running this Project Bluebeam if it existed, if it exists? So
and then they want people, and then one last topic under that too. And then they'd also want people to discredit religion. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to go into that, but so they would believe in like a world war government.
But I don't understand how the shooting down the three objects would have anything to do with that. If they said aliens were being shot down and they're going to kill us all, then people would go into pandemonium, I think.
Yeah.
But I wrote, how many people would be in the know? These are the two examples I wrote. UFO investigator Richard Dolan, I watch his show, I read his books. He said from the Wilson Davis UFO memo, he says that there's between 400 and 800 people in the government that know all of the ins and outs of UFOs. Most of them don't know the whole entire story. They don't know, they don't go full circle. But he says between 400 and 800 people know at least bits and pieces of the UFO phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Stanton Friedman seems to think it was less than that. Back in like the 1980s, there was the Operation Majestic 12 documents, where he said that there was specifically 12 individuals in the United States government, and one of them was even a Harvard professor,
Hmm.
that were in the know with UFOs. You figure we even have Senator Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan. They even asked about UFOs, and they couldn't get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
So if this Project Bluebeam does exist, who would run the project? I have no idea. But it would probably be, I think what Richard
Like,
Dolan says, between probably 400 and 800 people would probably have full
yeah,
knowledge.
because you got to have like even people you would think like technologically wise and stuff too that have to know about it.
I can't picture Biden the way that
well, even the president and any president in general, it's not a need to know basis, you know.
It's not a need to know basis, and I don't know why he would want to rule the world with UFOs though. That is
right.
I don't think that really matches his persona.
I mean, yeah, it's a need to know basis, and and it's more like a curious mind. They're not going to answer just because of that.
Yeah, I have a few more talking points on this, and then, like I said, probably be a 45-minute show to an hour. As far as this Project Bluebeam goes, it doesn't. I wrote, would Project Bluebeam work if this were true? Like, say say this just for the sake of argument. Say we're saying the government is faking these 3 out of these 4 objects that are shot down are faked, or even if they're not faked, there's some kind of UFO craft or some kind of man-made craft that they're staging this to make it look like there's a UFO invasion. Like, would this work? I wrote, probably not. Most people, it seems like, don't even care about aliens or extraterrestrials. And if the government faked UFO crashes, they wouldn't even care. Or they would think it was more interesting than scary with the way people think nowadays.
Yeah. They're more open-minded now compared to like 60, 70 years ago.
And I wrote, Monast seems to think that pandemonium would ensue if the government said that they had evidence of an alien invasion. I put that in quotes. The examples I put, you figure War of the Worlds in 1938, narrated by Orson Welles. Depending on who you ask or what website you go in, they said people were jumping from windows, people were committing suicide because they thought the aliens were coming. People were drowning their spouses and kids in bathtubs and things. I mean, I hate to laugh about it, but that's kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah. Hey, they didn't know back then, though.
Yeah, and then some people were saying, like, some websites say that there's no evidence that ever really happened, that people were killing themselves over it. So some people say no one cared, I guess. Or they were scared, but they didn't care enough to go kill themselves. But the stories I read, that people were jumping out of windows in Chicago and New York City.
Yeah, interesting.
But then again, there's been plenty of news stories, local news stories here at least, where they say that there's unidentified flying objects in the sky, or some people think that they crashed. And I don't hear no stories about people drowning their spouses and killing themselves.
No.
We figure Roswell in 1947, the military originally came out with a story in the Roswell Daily Record saying that there was a UFO, a flying disc, they called it. It was found on the Foster Ranch. No one killed themselves. No one seemed to beat their spouse up or go loot and steal from downtown. No one seemed to do that. That was only 9 years after the Orson Welles ordeal. So would it happen again where pandemonium ensues? I wrote it's unlikely. Unless they have footage on the news of aliens zapping the downtown Washington.
Independence Day style.
Yeah. And then again, I kind of think people want aliens. I don't know about an alien invasion. But
they want to know they're real.
Like me, for instance, I would think that would be super cool if they shot down 3 UFOs.
Yeah.
But then again, are they going to even tell us if it was? No. I think they've already given out more information than they would have already given out if it were UFOs. They would just say it was a spy balloon or something and leave it at that.
Or just a UFO and leave it at that too.
Yeah, I don't think that they would be even giving any kind of description. But the octagonal object, that is weird.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they would focus in on that one specific object. And like I
Yeah.
said, we have the Air Force general and the president saying that from their classified briefings that at least two of those three objects weren't balloons.
Hmm.
So I wrote, are these spy balloons or UFOs? To me, there might not be a spy balloon, but the government's got to know something we don't about these objects.
Exactly.
They had to have shot them down for a reason. Whether it's a UFO or a spy balloon, there's got to be a reason behind it. They're not just going to go shoot down someone's science experiment. and I wrote, I know I said this earlier. I'll say it again. I wrote the government was pretty straightforward with the South Carolina balloon. I don't think they would talk to us about real, actual UFOs. Like, look what they did in the past. Like, for instance, we did the Ely UFO crashes. We covered those things. They didn't tell anyone about that because that was a real UFO. But then again, going back to 2008, they had a crash over in Needles, California, and that never made the news. They said that helicopters, double-bladed helicopters, had the object still on fire, and they picked it up and went away with it.
Yeah, that is very fascinating.
Yeah, and that never made the news, and people didn't jump out windows because of that. So my last talking point that I have about Monast, I wrote this about Monast's death specifically. I said his death was mysterious. Some say that he was killed by psychotronic weapons. Why? What the hell is that? What the hell is
I couldn't begin to tell you.
I'm going to look it up real quick. I don't know what a psychotronic weapon is. I'm guessing that's something to do.
That's something beyond our technology.
Yeah. Psychotronic warfare weapons, the effects of different sound frequencies on the human mind came up in some kind of book. Electronic harassment, it came up. It says electromagnetic torture or psychotronic torture. It's a conspiracy theory. So there's a conspiracy theory on a conspiracy theory. It says,
I mean, I don't doubt it's not possible.
Well, it says they use electromagnetic radiation, such as microwaves from a radar, and surveillance techniques to transmit sounds and thoughts into people's head to affect their bodies and harass people. Individuals who claim to experience this call themselves targeted individuals, in quotations. Some claim that they're victims of gang stalking, may have created or joined support from advocacy groups. Multiple medical professionals have concluded that these experiences are hallucinations, the result of delusional disorders or psychosis. So, I'll talk a little bit about this real quick. So this is from a Wikipedia page on electronic harassment, it says. It says there's a lady named Lorraine Sheridan. She co-authored a study of gang stalking. She says one has to think about the phenomenon in terms of people with paranoid symptoms who have hit upon gang stalking idea as an explanation for what's happening to them. Mental health professionals say that TIs can experience hallucinations, and their explanations of being targeted or harassed are delusional disorders or psychosis. Yale psychiatry professor Ralph Hoffman says that people often ascribe voices in their heads to external sources such as government harassment, God, dead relatives, and it can be difficult to persuade these individuals that their belief in its external influence is delusional. And it says many people that report this are reported alien abductions or contactees. So before we get deeper into this, what do you think of that, Tim?
I don't know. I don't know. There's some technology out there that's possible, but I don't know if we've perfected it yet.
Mm-hmm. So they're saying that he was killed by psychotronic weapons. So they're saying there was some kind of a weapon. I hate to laugh, but
yeah, very doubtful. But
it's some kind of weapon that they made to get inside his head and kill him from within and make him go crazy, I guess. It's not like shooting a gun or something like that. I guess they said it's some kind of a thing they got in his head, they say. So real quick, I was looked up what are some notable crimes or notable instances where people claim that there were psychotronic weapons. It says on September 16th, 2013, Aaron Alexis fatally shot 12 people and injured 3 others in Washington Navy Yard using a shotgun in which he had written "My Elf Weapon" before being killed by responding police officers. The FBI concluded that Alexis had delusional beliefs, and these beliefs included that he was being controlled and influenced by low-frequency electromagnetic waves. The next one. It says on November 20th, 2014, Myron May shot and injured 3 people on the campus of Florida State University and was killed by responding police officers. Before the event, he had become increasingly anxious that he was under government surveillance and was being talked to in his head by voices.
Weird.
I got 3 more. Gavin Eugene Long, who killed 3 police officers and injured 3 others in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on July 17, 2016. He was a believer in numerous anti-government movements and conspiracy theories. But he was most notably a member of a group dedicated to helping people with remote brain experimentation, remote neural monitoring of the entire human body. 2 more. Matthew Choi, a 30-year-old South African who claimed himself under a V2K electronic harassment and made remarks about being brainwashed through microwaves since 2015, murdered a taxi driver in Hong Kong in 2021. It says the case got mass attention in the city and the police described him as extremely dangerous. This last one is Fuad Abdo Ahmed, a 20-year-old man, held a man and 2 women hostage at St. Joseph branch of Texas State Bank on August 13th, 2013, eventually killing 2 of the hostages and himself. A subsequent police investigation officially concluded that Ahmed had paranoid schizophrenia and was hearing voices. Ahmed had accused the family of his ex-girlfriend of implementing a microwave device of some kind in his head. So those are all cases of people that claim that they were somehow being harmed by psychotronic weapons or psychotronic warfare, whether it be by a government agency or by an individual. Does this really exist? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Monast, the individual who came up with this Project Bluebeam, it said that he died of a heart attack 2 years after making this Project Bluebeam theory. And he claims, some people think that the government somehow killed him, the Canadian government, not the United States government. The Canadian government killed him using psychotronic weapons. And it said they wanted to keep him from investigating his material on Project Bluebeam. So that's kind of weird. Why am I focusing so much on those instances? People might want to know. I think that if someone's gonna make a claim about something like a psychotronic weapon killing someone, that for those people that actually believe in that maybe I'll give them some examples. One more thing I'd like to go over real quick. Mr. Serge Monast was arrested for networks of prohibited information in 1995 and 1996, like I said earlier. So this guy was, I don't know if he's in the know or if he stumbled upon something that he's not supposed to, but something was something. He was onto something, I guess, or maybe.
Yeah, they didn't like something he's seen.
Or he looked like a lunatic, maybe trying to get into their files and they caught him. I don't know. So we're going to go full circle real quick. And then we're going to end the show a little bit early tonight since there's not a whole lot of material on this. So in the 1990s, there was a guy named Serge Monast. He came up with this theory called Project Bluebeam. He claims that certain government agencies or possibly world governments were trying to fake a second coming, in this case, a UFO invasion, to try and control the people or cause pandemonium. In February of 2023, of course, the Canadians and the United States officials shot down 4 different unknown objects around the various parts of Canada and the United States. So conspiracy theorists start thinking that these objects either don't exist, or if they exist, that it's either a real alien invasion or these are some kind of a made-up alien invasion.
To cause a frenzy.
Yeah, so we went over the evidence to kind of support this theory. We went over some evidence. There's kind of more evidence and no evidence to disprove this theory. Again,
it is interesting.
Yeah, there's no solid evidence to support that this theory is going on or that this is really happening. It's kind of all talk at this point.
Yeah.
I know Nick said that he was actually, I think he believes, I don't know for sure, but it sounds like Nick believes in it. It's kind of, he wasn't able to make it on the show tonight, but we're supposed to play devil's advocate here a little bit, but
yeah,
we'll get it another time. So, like I said, there's not a whole lot of information available on this, so I kind of went over everything I could find. So after everything we went over, has your mind changed at all on this, Tim, or do you still think it's kind of yes, no, kind of this exists?
I'm not sure what to think. I do believe that there's aspects I told you earlier. The government does want to control a tighter grasp on the people in some senses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think these two are related, but I think aspects of Project Bluebeam may be you know what I mean? Parts of it may be true.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a possibility that they could kind of try to fake an alien invasion or something.
Oh, yeah, power.
But I don't think the people would catch on like this. Serge Monast thinks they would. If he were still alive today, would he change his mind on this, or would he be screaming from the rooftops, "I told you so"? I bet you'd be saying, "I told you so."
Probably.
So, this was kind of a quick little show, like I said.
Yeah.
We are going to end the show in just a moment. We are going to do a show next Saturday night at 7 p.m. The topic we are going to post either Tuesday or Wednesday this week. We got to kind of get together and figure out what we're going to talk about. It's looking like we're going to try to start hosting our shows on Saturday nights is what it's kind of looking like.
Yeah, maybe occasionally mix it up.
Yeah, mix it up. We do have some good stuff coming for you. We are going to come out with our Nevada Sand Yeti documentary here pretty soon. Next weekend, we're going to film kind of the last couple shots up in the mountains there. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to make, Tim, or anything you want to tell the audience? I know one last thing I would like to say. Don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. Again, our show is entirely viewer driven. We don't ask for monetary donations. We don't ask for money. We don't do any of that.
Never will either.
Yeah, we won't ask you for money. We won't ask you for super chats or none of that stuff. We don't have to beg for super chats. So what we do ask though is if you hit that like button, subscribe to our show, either hit like, hit subscribe, whichever, tell your friends about it. Our show so far is doing pretty well.
People really like it.
The numbers on YouTube don't carry. If we repost the show on Facebook or on Twitter, for some reason, the numbers aren't all adding up. But on Facebook and Twitter, it's showing we're doing pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like I said, next Saturday night, we're going to do another show. We don't know what the topic is yet, but I'll get back to you guys in the middle of the week. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in again.
Thank you guys.
All right, this has been another edition of Bigfoots Pad Live. Sorry the show wasn't a little bit longer. It's just the topic's a little bit obscure. But we'll be coming back at you next week with next Saturday night with another great podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.